Hi everyone, welcome to day 2. Today we will be focusing on Vritti and Ujjayi breathing. So Vritti is actually not necessarily a pranayama technique, but the duration in which we take both halves of the breath. Now, some practices do also involve breath retention. We will not be doing any of those with this series, just because those ones are a little bit more advanced. Breath retention, whether held out or held in, can be a little bit more stimulating to different doshas, different ailments. And those I do not want to teach on a video platform. Those I would much prefer you learn in person with a teacher who can see hopefully what's going on or understand what you have going on in your body or your head, so they can recommend a progression of retention for you. So that's not something that I'll be working with or teaching. Do know that that is a part of pranayama, but we will not be handling that here. So our Vritti is our 1-to-1 ratio of breath. Day 1, maybe yesterday or maybe a couple weeks ago if you did our first video, that one was just working on finding the depth of the breath, finding where we breathe, how to perhaps breathe a little more fully, more deeply, and in a more passive and calming manner. So this one we will start to modify that a little bit. Really our first technique is going to be playing with the ratio. So take any preparations you'd like if you've not already. Blow your nose, maybe grab a drink, not a whole glass of water, just a little bit if the throat is dry. Make sure that we're not in like super air conditioning or super heat. Try to make sure that your atmosphere is fairly neutral. That's recommended for all pranayama techniques. And find your seat, whether on a cushion, a towel, a blanket, wherever you find comfort. Most of these are not recommended standing, by the way. You should always try to find a seat, as we would ideally be preparing for meditation after this. So, finding that seat. Closing your eyes, we'll return from our deep belly breathing from yesterday. As you inhale, feel the navel expand, rib cage, chest. And as you exhale, feel the chest move back, rib cage in, navel draws back. And again, at first we might need to control the action or make the action more obvious, but start to let it be more passive. The more comfortable we get, the more automatic or easy this technique will become. And though you may hear a slight reverberation in your head or in your throat of the breath, ideally, if there was a person next to you, they may not be able to hear you breathe. You can probably hear me breathe as I have a microphone right here. But the breath should not make a whole lot of sound now or even in a moment. Now, see if we can bring a consistent tempo or consistent rhythm to the breath. Inhaling, counting for perhaps 4 counts. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. And there will be a slight pause, a slight suspension between either half, just a tiny one, and that's okay. Inhale, maybe 2, 3, 4. And exhale, 2, 3, 4. And if your breath does not match mine, that is okay. Please take this on your counts for what you are experiencing, not me and not mine. You may notice one half of the breath is feeling like it's not fulfilled. Gradually start to take the 2 halves of breath and start to balance them out from either side. Eventually, one will catch up to the other. Please be patient. And again, release the effort once we start to find this even ratio. A little less effort, a little less control, observing an equal amount of breath for each half rather than forcing or creating an even length breath. Notice if maybe we lost the 3-part breath, and that's okay. Let's see if we can bring it back if it is absent now. And please blink the eyes open. So maybe a count of 4 is not appropriate for what resonates with you. Maybe it's a count of 3, maybe it's a count of 5 or 6. Finding an even length for both halves is what we're after, not necessarily a specific number or a specific count. Your breath might not be equal to mine or anybody else's. That is why it is your practice, not necessarily a one-size-fits-all count of 4. So, if you'd like to, adding on, we have the option to add Ujjayi Pranayama. Ujjayi means victorious, the victorious breath or the conquering breath. What does it conquer? Stuckness is one way to put it, I suppose. This is where we start to bring a little bit of heat. I'd mentioned before there are certain types of pranayama that are heating, certain ones that are cooling. This one happens to be heating. It's not the most heating. We'll get into that one in 2 days, I believe. But this one is mildly heating. It's inspiring. It does help remove blockages from the lungs, from the respiratory system with its heating quality. Kind of think of melting some of that stuckness, some of that mucus in there. It is not recommended if you have high blood pressure, if there is any difficulty with really basically tension and heat in the body. If you have hypertension, if you have been experiencing chest pain, especially, or difficulty with the lungs, again, I do not recommend you practice these if you currently have some type of illness or disease that you know might not be best or might not be safe if you're taking additional practices modifying the lungs or the breath. So please to be careful with how you take this. Take it easily. It does not have to be. Some people do take this. Did you like that face? Some people do take this while they practice. I believe, I could be incorrect, but I do believe in an Ashtanga practice, you would like to have some semblance of Ujjayi for the entire time. I could be wrong. I apologize if I am. I do not know everything about every lineage, discipline, or system of yoga. So if you have different information, please understand that many of us do, because we all have different teachers, different systems, and different information that's passed down. So could be a little different. But this is typically taken, again, for the practice of meditation beforehand. Start to clear, continue to clear from our asana practice, and build just an appropriate amount of heat and warmth in the chest and in the throat area. So how is this done? We will take it with our 1-to-1 3-part breath, and we will add a slight constriction, a slight whisper in the throat, as though you're fogging up a mirror. Taking that action, though, with the nose closed. In my example, there was really quite forceful, so please do not try to your breath through your nose. As you take this, we'll be doing inhale and exhale with that slight whoosh sound all through the nose. So you might think of Darth Vader as some inspiration. Think of a wave-like sound. And this is one that you really just need to kind of practice and play with it. And eventually that sound, that what you have to do with the throat will begin to make sense. So let's resume. Hands to the tops of the legs. Closing the eyes once again. Find our normal 1-to-1 3-part breath. Let it be silent, fairly silent. Let it be effortless. And start to focus your awareness on the chest and the throat, the upper portion of the chest, just underneath the collarbones. And start to feel a slight constriction in the throat. This is an action that we do have to take, making it ourselves until it becomes more automatic. It will be easier on exhales. Again, thinking of fogging up a mirror as though you were breathing through the mouth, but breathing through the nose. Same on inhale. The inhale might feel a little bit choked. If it does, please relax the throat slightly. Again, this is subtle. It does not have to be a roaring breath. So this sound aids in our focus, in the removal of distractions. Helps bringing a heating and purifying quality to the lungs, the throat, the voice even. If you feel as though this is too heating, please stop that constriction and just return to our even one-to-one Vritti breath. And please blink your eyes open. So if you are familiar with the doshas, this does increase pitta, it does decrease vata and kapha, especially kapha, and you might feel warm. Now, you might feel a little bit warmer. Maybe you feel no physical or no temperature change, and that's also okay. These are extremely subtle. Pranayama does help us to perceive differences between temperature, between energizing and calming, just noticing how things we do affect how we feel, not just the more gross sensations like the food that we eat, but what stimuli we're taking in, how we breathe, how we move, what attitude we have. So give this a shot, practice this, let me know what you think, and I will see you back tomorrow for a different type of pranayama.